Hi guys, so today I'm going to be doing a book review video. I have 4 books, but the fourth one has 3 stories in it. So let's just get right into it. So this is called Mrs. Pollifax in the Hong Kong Buddha. It's by Dorothy Gilman. This is what it looks like. I read one other of her books before, and it was really good. The chapters are kind of long in this one. I think there was like 17 chapters plus the epilogue. And it's about this woman. She's kind of like the generic version of Mrs. Marple, where she solves mysteries. The ones I have, she goes to different like European or Asian places. This one is Hong Kong. Now, these books are written, a couple years ago. Like, this one was written in, I think the 80s. The 80s. I think the last one I read was written in the 60s. But Mrs. Pollifax has to go to Hong Kong because this company that this guy works for, and I guess she works for too, this like criminal thing, I don't know what they called it. This guy, he's given their head honcho these weird debriefs every week or something, or every day. So she has to go figure out what's going on. And here she finds out that the guy who was in a different book that she helped save, where she tried to get him out of China, and now I forget where he was supposed to be, but she got him out of China so he could live a better life or something like that. And he's in this book, and he works for this guy who they operate this import business, and she has to figure out what's going on, basically. And it was an okay book. I liked the first one better that I read. I forget what the first one was called, but it was kind of like the first book I read and this book kind of had the same thing, where they figured in the first book it was about something with passports, where they were selling people these passports to get out of the country, and it was kind of like a little bit of the story was kind of about that, where he was selling passports to this guy that her friend worked for, that she helped relocate. That company was selling passports to people, and here they figured out it was this organization that they thought was gone, and it wasn't. Now, this book was really weird. When I first picked this book up, I thought that it was gonna be about what it said the title was. But I read, first I thought it said Death and Resurrection, so I thought that's what the book was going to be about. But it's called Death and Restoration. It's by Iain Pears. This is what it looks like. And that's what I thought this book was going to be about. And no, it's about this. It's in Italy. And I think it's like a monastery where they have this painting where it's a painting of the Madonna, which is the Virgin Mary, and the child, which is Jesus. I think that's what they call it. I know they called it the Madonna. And apparently this painting saved the monastery through plagues and the world wars and all that stuff, and somebody steals it. And everybody in this city is rampant about it because they know that if this painting leaves, this city is gonna they think the city is just gonna crumble. It's gonna just be destroyed. And it's up to, I forget what her name is. It's a woman who has to figure out what happened to this painting and why. And it was an okay book, like I said. I really didn't get into it because, like I said, I thought it was going to be something different. But it was okay. This one was good. This is a romance. This is Cold Nose, Warm Heart. It is like a series because it says a Fur Haven Dog Park novel. It's by Mara Wells. This is what it looks like. And basically it's about this woman who runs this decrepit old apartment building where it's basically for like the senior citizens kind of. Her grandma lives in it. I think she was raised by her grandma because her mother always worked on like cruise ships. So she was always gone for a long time, and her mother never really had the best of relationships. And this man shows up saying that he comes from this wealthy family where they were like real estate people, and then his dad got into trouble where he's in jail, and his grandpa's trying to like clear the name by like getting this apartment building so he can redo it and make it like condos and stuff. And he's there, and you know, it's like a enemies to lovers kind of story. The grandma in it was like comic relief in this book. She was really funny. And then on the side of the building, they have this little like patch where it's their dog park, and you have to go through it through a hole in the fence. It's like this really weird thing. And what happens is when he made a deal with her that if he gets this deal where he can get these apartments, he'll make them a brand new dog park. And he does, and it's really cute. It's a really cute book. Like, this would be like a typical Hallmark mystery book. A typical Hallmark romance movie to me. Like, it just is a cute little book. So this, I promised you guys I was going to read this book, because I read the first set of stories. This is the sequel to that book. The first book was called Brides of Big Valley. This is called Return to Big Valley. It's by Wanda E. Brunstetter, Jean Brunstetter, and Richelle Brunstetter. This is what it looks like. I think it's something where I'm not sure. I think it's Wanda, and then it's either her sister-in-law or her daughter. I can't remember. And then the last one, I think, is like her niece, Wanda's niece. And basically, it's going back to this place it's an Amish romance. And it's 3 separate stories about 3 women who live in the Big Valley. The 3 women from the first 3 stories, the first set of the first book, they're in this book. They're the friends to these women in this book. The first story, I feel like they had a lot of criticism with the first book, because in the first book it seemed like everything was going at a fast pace. Like like each chapter was like a month. It was like the time of like a month. So you'd read one chapter, and then the next chapter, let's say, okay, now it's fall and it's October or whatever. And I feel like they got flack for that. So with these stories, the first one was good, and the second one was kind of slow paced for me, where I was like, okay, like, can we pick it up a little bit? Like, it got to the point where I'm like, okay, like, they're kind of back together now, like, or they're kind of like, you know, getting back together, like, can we speed it up, you know? And the last book was about the same, where I feel like it was getting slower. Like, the first book was kind of like, the first story, I should say, was kind of faster than the other 2 books, and the first 2 books have like 16 chapters, and the last one only has 14. I showed you what you guys look like. So the first one is called Wilma'S Wish. And she's been courted by this man for a year, and he finds out that his sister died in a tragic accident, and she had, I don't know how many, I think 5 boys, sons. And yeah, and now he has to raise them, help raise them. And at first, of course, the sons don't like his girlfriend. They think that, she's trying to take over what their mother used to be, and, they're giving her flack for it. And they end up, their uncle and her end up breaking up. The second book, or I don't know why I keep calling them books. Second story is about, again, a woman who she ends up, what was it? She ends up in a situation where this guy that she likes wants to go English, which is their way of saying, he wants to go into like the modern world, I guess you could say. He's a fireman, and he goes in, when he picks her up, they go in his car, and her mother thinks that like she's gonna go English and give up her ways, which she knows that her daughter's really passionate about, until her boyfriend gets into some kind of situation where he doesn't know what to do. And it was kind of like a plot twist, kind of. And then her friend is like a Mennonite, and she's asking her about things, because Mennonites can like drive a car. I think they can like have electricity. They can wear, they don't have to wear like their cap and apron and modest clothing. They can wear like, well, I think they still have to wear modest clothing, but it's not like the Amish, like stuff like the English people wear. And the second story is about a woman who her husband dies, and again, in another tragic accident. And she ends up coming back to the Big Valley because her parents left it when she was 16, and they moved to Kentucky so her parents could take care of her grandparents. And she ends up coming back, and she ends up living with her friend from the first set of stories. And she's rearranging the house the way that she wants it, even though it's not her house. She ends up meeting this man who, in the end, she has to figure out, like, she's a widow, and she's trying to get over her husband that just died, or grieve his death. And she's kind of like, should I be with this man? Shouldn't I? Because they were both childhood friends that they both have crushes on each other still. And they're just trying to deal with that. These books were really good. Like I said, some of the chapters were longer than others, depending on if they were switching back and forth between locations or between the characters. But other than that, that's the end of my book review video. I'll see you next time with another video, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.